Hello chess friends and welcome to Yazarov's chess channel and welcome to our Garry Kasparov series. So in this series we're following Garry Kasparov's life and his chess career, and we're back now in the 1984-1985 World Chess Championship between Anatoly Karpov and Garry Kasparov. We're now in the round 27. In my previous video we have covered the game 9 in which Karpov won the game, and after 9 rounds Karpov had a comfortable 4-point lead, which was really incredible. Kasparov didn't manage to win any games, and even after 26 rounds, after the game 9, 17 draws have been played. So even after that, Kasparov couldn't win at least one game. So here he was still 4 points behind against Karpov after 26 rounds. So we're now in the game 27, in which Karpov again played with the white pieces, Kasparov played with the black pieces, and Karpov opens with the move knight to f3, d5, d4, knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, bishop to e7. So we have seen now many times Kasparov in this World Championship match final that he played the Tarrasch defense with bishop with c5, but now he plays bishop to e7, a more calm line here in the game, bishop to g5, played by Karpov, and here Kasparov kicks away immediately the bishop on h6, and Karpov takes. Bishop takes f6, we have bishop takes f6. What we can notice, of course, is that white is continuing the game without the bishop pair, but the problem about this bishop on f6, it is a little bit misplaced here. We can fix the position with e3, and still we want to get out with the tempo after d takes c4. Then we could protect somehow, maybe our knight on c3, and what the main goal basically from white's perspective is here, that we are building a sort of a fortress on dark squares. Black, on the other hand, has of course the bishop here, but there is one flip side to the coin. There is one problem about this bishop. The bishop on c8 is a little bit paralyzed, it's blocked out. Even if you try to develop it with b6, bishop to b7, it's still blocked out by this pawn structure e6, d5. So it's of course an equal game, still possibilities for both sides, very flexible opening. We have e3, and now castling played by Kasparov. We have queen to c2. Karpov delays the situation here a little bit with the bishop move. We are waiting black to take, d takes c4, then the bishop comes out with the tempo. What Kasparov wants now, of course, is to create an attack around the square c3 and d4. So that's why he plays c5 immediately. He wants, of course, to liberate his bishop, and Karpov simply takes. D takes c5, we have d takes c4, and now the bishop comes out very actively, and now queen to a5. This position has been played many times in chess history. It's still normal line. Again, I'm pointing out this bishop is bad. This bishop is now a good one, because finally Kasparov opened the position for the dark square bishop, and we have here castling played by Karpov, and now bishop to c3. Okay, after bishop takes c3, we can notice again further simplification, because Karpov takes with queen to c3. I think that Kasparov hoped here that Karpov will take with the pawn, that he can stay maybe with the queens on the board. But Karpov played the accurate move, queen takes c3. After queen to c3, b takes c3. Okay, white is a pawn up. The problem is you cannot probably defend both of them because there are weaknesses. But what we can do is, after the move knight to d7, here to sacrifice the pawn and create also a weakness at least on the other side of the board, of course in black's camp. And we have now, after b takes c6, a really simplified line in which basically this should be drawish, because both of them have equal pawns, have the same material, bishops and knights on the board. Still, of course, opportunities to maybe occupy these open files, but still also these are clear targets, the weak c6 and the weak c3 pawn. What white has, I think, here as a slightly advantage is, of course, the bishop's activity. This bishop is much more active than this one. You cannot easily really developed this bishop on c8 in the game, rook from a to b1, and this was basically Karpov's style. He really tried to play the simplified lines. He did want to complicate things against a sharp tactician like Garry Kasparov. You want to keep a calm game. Here rook to b1, simply getting our rook on the open file, very important move. And after knight to b6, we have bishop to e2. c5, Garry Kasparov wants, of course, to liberate finally his light square bishop, wants, of course, also to get the pawns on dark squares. It's very important, because if you put the pawns on too many on light squares, first of all, you're blocking out your own bishop, but also then the light square pawn could be an object of the light square bishop. So here rook to c1, played by Karpov. We have bishop to b7, king to f1. Very important move. Karpov realizes that this game could very very fast go into an endgame, so that's why he wants to play with his king towards the center. If many pieces are traded off, if the position gets more and more simplified, then it's very good maybe to have the king somewhere here, d3, maybe on c4, where we can attack the weak c5 pawn. So very very nice endgame technique so far by Karpov. So bishop to d5, here rook to b5, and what we can again notice, Karpov is simply slightly faster in this attack, and again I think something went wrong. Although if you play probably this game perfectly for both sides, it's a drawish line, but still I think that this the kind of style doesn't fit simply for Kasparov. Here really it's not such a complicated game. We're playing simply rook to b5, attacking the weak pawn. Nothing special is going on in the game. Knight to d7, played by Kasparov. Probably better ideas here. Rook from a to c8. Then maybe c4 can be played, because we want maybe a simplified line. Bishop to f3. After g takes f3. Okay, we're going into a knight versus bishop endgame. But at least I think this knight could find good ways into the game, because this bishop is a little bit blocked out by its own pawn, so it doesn't have so far a good activity. So that's why maybe rook from a to c8, but knight to d7 a little bit passive, because Karpov simply attacks now this other pawn. It is of course protected, but it's a little bit messing up black's further progress. Black would love, of course, to occupy now the b file. That's why here rook from f to b8 has to be played, but now c4 kicking with the bishop. The problem is now you cannot take any more bishop to f3, because bishop to f3 will happen and you lose the rook. So that's why Kasparov has to stay on this diagonal. Bishop to c6, knight to e1, and here after rook to b4 we have bishop to d1. Here Karpov plays again such a great positional game. What he wants to do, it's really not a complicated tactic, it's really a normal tactic. He wants to bring his knight on d3. He wants, of course, then to take the pawn on c5. But the problem is after knight to c5, rook to c5, then this rook, you see the knight on d3 is also protecting the b2 square. So that's why he wants first to lock the b file. That's why he plays bishop to d1. Very nice positional move, very very cool move. I really thought about this move. Why did he place his bishop on this weird square? Because he wants to play bishop to d3, locking the b file. Very important, and then to play knight to d3, knight takes c5. Very very cool move. So here rook to b7, first f3, so that the knight cannot be attacked by the bishop anymore. If knight to d3, then bishop to e4 could happen. So rook to d8, knight to e3, knight to d3. Here we have g5, and now comes this idea, bishop to b3, simply locking. Now we can take knight takes c5, knight takes c5, rook to c5, but the rook cannot come very active into the game here on the second rank. It was simple as that. Incredible how Kasparov allowed this kind of a tactic. Nothing special, as I said. Here Karpov didn't play, I think, such a complicated game, but it was maybe too complicated for Kasparov. Such a simplified line to play here. It's a clear target now, the weak c5 pawn in the game. King to f8. Here Karpov takes, and Karpov has suddenly basically a better endgame. It's a pawn up. We have attacked the bishop. The bishop has to move, or you have to protect it. So here we have a clear passer. It's really a bad game for black now. So here rook to d6, we have king to e2, king to e7, rook to d1. Now Karpov again wants to simplify the position that he wants to trade off the rooks. Rook to d1, king to d1, we have king to d6, and rook to a5. Again the rook is a little bit stuck to the defense of this weak a7 pawn. Here f5, we have king to e2, again a centralizing move, very nice endgame technique. Again you have to play actively with your king. h5, we have e4, very nice move, because Karpov has, of course, here the tension on the fifth rank. Kasparov takes, but now after f takes e4, okay, you can grab now this pawn, but now after rook to g5, we have now also here a 2 versus 1 situation. We have also 2 versus 1 situation here on the queen side. So this is now a completely winning endgame, and as I said, something went wrong probably in Garry Kasparov preparation. Here bishop to f5, king to e3, really natural moves. h4, we have king to d4, again a centralizing move. We're playing actively with our king. e5, king to c3, bishop to b1, not a problem. Here a3, we have rook to e7, and now rook to g4, simply attacking this weakness. h3, what Kasparov wants to do is now split the pawns, at least creating a weakness. G takes h3, then they're not 2 pawns, this is basically 1 pawn, and this could be a problem. So it would be an endgame in which Kasparov has here a pass pawn, Karpov has here pass pawn on c5, has also here the pass pawn, but also Garry Kasparov has a pass pawn. So but that's why here Karpov played the very cool move g3, because what he wants to do now, if he takes, for instance, this pawn on h3, then he could have 2 connected pass pawns, and then it could be really over here for Kasparov. So rook to e8, the connected pass pawns is really the main strategy that you should apply in your own endgames. Whenever you have the opportunity, take a pawn and then create this connected pass pawns. It's very important, because if you, for instance, get 2 connected pass pawns on the 6th rank somehow, then even the rook cannot catch up anymore with them. So that's why very important strategy to know. So rook to g7, we have rook to f8, rook takes a7. Now Kasparov finally gets the opportunity to grab now on this pawn on h2. We have king to b4. We have rook to h2, which was basically a mistake. A better, at least some kind of an idea, is maybe to play here the move rook to b2, because now after maybe c5 we can play king to c6. After something like, I don't know, maybe king to c4, we can force a trade of bishops. That's the most important thing. And here after check, maybe we can trade off more pieces, and now it would be time maybe to take the pawn. But Garry Kasparov played rook to h2 a little bit too early, because now Karpov has the opportunity to push the pawn on c5. Here after king to c6, we have bishop to a6, and that was the whole point about this rook to b2 idea, that you locking a little bit the bishop would be paralyzed at least for a moment. So after the move bishop to a4, we have now very nice opportunities to simply push this pawn further. We have rook to b2 attacking the king, not a problem. Again, rook to b8. We have c7. You see, this is a very dangerous pawn. Here Kasparov has to play rook to c8, and now here rook to king to b6. We're threatening also to play something like rook to d8, but you have to be also careful, because Kasparov has also here a passer on the h file. Here after bishop to c6, very important move, because here we're at least controlling the h1 square. When the pawn comes, we can maybe even sacrifice the bishop for a pawn if it's necessary, but still this is our main goal here, to play the move rook to d8. h2, we have g4, here rook to h8, and now rook to d1. Still, Karpov plays a calm game. He's not rushing into anything. Here in the game, bishop to a2 was played, and now rook to e1, attacking the king. King goes here to f4, but now rook to e4, first to check, and now we can finally grab now this pawn. This was also a very important strategy. Again, if you promote, we'll simply here, if you promote, for instance, it's not a problem. We can simply take. And then if you take, we'll promote another queen, so the rook is overloaded here. So that's why here after rook to e5, we have king takes g4, and now rook to e2, very important move. And in this position, Kasparov resigned. The bishop is attacked. We can also, if you move the bishop somewhere, I think we can even take. Maybe it's even a possibility. Okay, here it's not possible to go e6. Even if you play something like bishop to f7, then we can, I think, takes, and here we can again promote to queen. So very messed up game for Kasparov. It was really incredible how Karpov was really the master of this simplification lines. He played really normal moves. Something went wrong in Kasparov preparation, and it was a 5-0 lead for Karpov after 27 rounds, which was really incredible. Not sure what was going on, but it was, as I said, one of the epic moments in chess history. 5-0 lead for Anatoly Karpov after 27 rounds. Incredible. No one, I think, could have thought that this could happen like this. So if Karpov now wins one more game, he's the winner of the World Chess Championship, because they play the so-called Fischer rule. The winner is the first who gets 6 wins. So far, after 27 rounds, 22 draws and 5 wins for Karpov. So incredible stuff. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. It was maybe too static, no really great tactics. But okay, this was a tough World Championship match between two top grandmasters. If you want to see more Garry Kasparov's games, check out my list so far. Here's the playlist that I've created, Garry Kasparov's Path to Glory. You can also check out his previous games. And if you want to see maybe the best chess games of all times, check out my best chess games of all time series. And if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.